So if you miss something, no worries. We are recording it. We'll also be uploading it to our YouTube channel, and we'll be sharing a link with all of you. So again, if you missed something, don't worry. You'll be able to revisit this after today. Just a couple of things before we get started. To save the chat, we are going to be sharing quite a bit of information there, and folks will be asking questions. Again, don't be shy. Please ask your question in the chat. If you want to save a copy of today's chat transcript, all you have to do is at the bottom of the chat box, there is a button there with 3 little dots. You click on that, it will give you the opportunity to save that to your device. So whether you're on a phone or on a laptop or tablet, you can save a copy of today's chat transcript. And then get a copy of the slides. And so if, again, you want to revisit the slides that we present today, you can go ahead and scan this QR code. We'll show it again at the end of the presentation. And for those of you on the line today, we'll also be sending out a link to the slides, but great information in all of these slides. So if you want to get a copy, go ahead and scan that. And now I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our Assistant Chief of Licensing, Erica, to present today's presentation. Thanks, Erica.
Alrighty, thank you everyone for joining today. So first, this slide you're going to see throughout this presentation that we're going to have some slides that have that little red stop sign. Those are the things that we do want you to pay extra close attention to. Those are the common errors that we see throughout an application. Those being bond, personnel, and Arizona Corporation Commission, completed background checks, valid legible IDs, and testing. We will go over these items individually, but just keep an eye out on those items just because they are common errors on applications. All right, so in that meeting invite, you should have received a checklist that looks like this. If you did not, you can also see it on our website. This checklist is a really good tool to use and helps you kind of go step by step on the application process. There are 2 checklists. The only difference between each checklist is if you're going through, if you're applying as an LLC or corporation, you do have to have 1 extra step in your process versus if you're applying as a sole proprietorship or partnership. This tool is going to help you regarding getting the application completed in its entirety, making sure you're not missing anything. And it's good to use just to make sure you are following a good flow on getting your application completed before submitting it to us. This helps applicants to where they know what to look at to make sure that we aren't calling them, letting them know, hey, you are missing this specific step in your application process. If you did not receive it, we do have it available on our website through that link on that slide. Alrighty, so first step is understanding who is the applicant. So just like how it's divided up into those 2 checklists, you have the option to apply as a sole proprietorship or partnership or a corporation or LLC. So as a sole proprietorship, there's not an actual business name. It is your name that matches your ID. You use your name on contracts. You use your name to advertise or anything like that. Now, when you have corporation or LLC, that is where you create that entity, that company. That is registered through the Arizona Corporation Commission in order to apply as a corporation or LLC. Now, you do have the option of applying a DBA or doing business as name on your application. You can contract under that DBA. It should be included on your application. Must be listed on all documents within your application, bond, and all those items within that process. We do also recommend registering with the Secretary of State if you decide to add a DBA. just know it is highly recommended to do so, because then you kind of reserve that name for yourself. Just keep in mind, if you do not register it with the Secretary of State, that name is available for anyone to also register with it. So please, we do highly recommend getting that registered. All right, license classifications. So in order to kind of go through the application process, you do need to understand what scope of work you're doing to know what to apply for. Knowing your classification will help you understand what type of bond you need, what type of testing is done, and going forward from there. We have different types of classifications that are categorized in different methods, either engineering, that's going to be anything industrial, any public right-of-ways, commercial buildings, which could be like warehouses, anything like that. And then we have our residential contracting, which is, homes, condos, ground up work like that. And we do also have licenses where you can have more of a very, very specific scope. So if you kind of only want to do more like just be plumbing or be only electrical, you have that availability to just get that license that just goes under that scope of work. You do have options to also get commercial and residential licenses as one, which is known as our dual licenses. That can go for either our general licenses or our specialty licenses. So it really is kind of going off of what your work is looking like. If you have questions regarding what classification best fits your scope of work, we do have this listed on our website that does describe each scope of work and what you are able to do within that license classification. That all is listed on our website. If there's ever any confusion with the classifications, or you might find some that could possibly fit in your scope of work, but you're still unsure of which one best fits your work, you can always send us what is called a scope determination request. We just ask that you be detailed in it. We would like to know, if you're working residential, commercial, public right-of-ways. The job size monetarily does contribute into some of these classifications, not all. And then we can kind of get an idea of what work you're doing to recommend the best possible classification per your scope of work. All right. So the qualifying party. The qualifying party is known in different aspects. So it could be the person who has the experience, hands-on supervisory experience. They are the ones that will be taking the exams related to the license that you're applying for. So their requirements are very, very specific. We do need their full name that's listed on their ID, date of birth, social security. We do need a valid government issued ID, whether it is a driver's license, a passport, anything like that. Contact information, so an address, email, phone number, anything that we can use to get in contact with them. Background check. It is required that they do a background check. Background check is valid for 90 days, so keep that in mind. They do require both tests, the statutes and rules exam and trades exam. So here in this slide, we have already highlighted a few of the common errors when it comes to looking at the qualifying party as an individual on that application process. So keep that in mind. The qualifying party, again, is the person who has that minimum experience to qualify for that license. So either they have years of hands-on experience, so they've done it before with possibly another licensed contractor. They received some type of diploma from an accredited college to show that they have an education experience. any supervisor experience doing this type of work that they're applying for previously. They will let us know, they will attest to any of that experience they have, and also it is required that they send us any contact information for references. We do contact references to ensure that their work history aligns with the license classification that they are applying for. All righty. So waivers. So if the qualifying party has been on a license before, they have the capability of waiving certain exams. So again, this is only for the qualifying party. They can waive the statutes and rules exam if that qualifying party was on an active Arizona license within the last 5 years. So again, that's within the last 5 years if they were on an active Arizona license. And that is just for the statutes and rules exam. Now, when looking at the trades exam, the more technical exam that is related to the scope of work that you're doing, the qualifying party can waive that trades exam if they have been named on an active Arizona license of the same classification. So it has to be exactly the same within the last 5 years. So if that qualifying party was on a license for plumbing 2 years ago and they apply now, you can waive those exams if you are applying for that plumbing license. That classification needs to be the same in order for us to waive it. The only thing that's a little bit more broader is the statutes and rules exam, because it is the same exam for everyone that takes it. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking at a waiver for the trades exam, it must be that same classification. When submitting through the portal, just know that the portal does those checks to see that you have already been listed on a license, and will waive to let you know that you have met the requirements to have that exam waived, and it will give you that option. This is why we try and have people apply through our portal, because a lot of that work is being done for you. You won't need to submit any extra documentation for it. When going through the portal, it will find all that information for you once you start plugging in your personal information. So definitely want to get signed up for that portal if you haven't done so already. All right. So this is a big one, out-of-state waivers. So we will start with saying we do not pre-approve waivers. We cannot pre-approve any out-of-state waiver for specific reasons. So first and foremost, we cannot waive the statutes and rules exam unless, again, you have been listed on an Arizona license within the last 5 years. The statutes and rules exam is very specific to Arizona. If you come from another state and you took a test very similar to it, we still would not waive it, because every state has different rules and policies. So just keep that in mind. So when it comes to the trades exam, the QP, if the qualifying party was named on that active license within the last 5 years and meets these specific requirements, the scope of work allowed in that other state must be comparable to what they're applying to here. So if you have an out-of-state electrical license, you can possibly waive for an Arizona electrical license. You cannot waive it as a plumbing license, a general license, or anything like that. The scope of work must be comparable. That qualifying party must be listed at that same capacity. So here it is the individual who oversees the work that is being done and has that experience and has attested to that experience. They need to be the same in that other state to possibly consider that waiver. We will verify that license to make sure that there are no unresolved complaints in that state. So anything that would stop you from being approved for a license there, we would verify and see if that can hinder you from being licensed here and using that as a waiver. So it's something that we can verify through a state licensing board or agency. We like to use California as a good example because California, they have all their information on their website. We can see the people listed on there, the type of license, any type of scope of work, anything in detail like that that we can verify to make sure that that license is comparable, there's no complaints, and we can possibly waive that trades exam. The out-of-state license information should be provided at the time of the application. So when you're doing your portal, if you're doing application through the online portal, it will give you that option to fill out any license that you hold in another state. It does all that work for you. So again, you're just plugging in the number so then we can verify it with the other state. Now, if you send us in a application by mail or you drop it off in our office, there is a form you can fill out. Again, we just need to know the license number, who's licensed, and from what state, so we can check these items to see if it's something that we can possibly waive. If we ever get to a point where we can't verify any type of exams or anything like that to possibly waive that trades exam, you will be given the option to take our trades exam if we cannot approve your waiver. All right, and here's another common error. So the exams. So we have our two exams, the statutes and rules exam and the trades exam. These links can be found on our website under the applying for the license checklist. You will be directed to 2 different sites for each exam. So the SRE is our statutes and rules exam. Think of it more as a training course. You will go through some material, some videos, and I'll ask you some questions throughout the video. It is self-paced, so if you get started on it today, you can pause on it and start again tomorrow. So it does give you chance to kind of take it when you have the availability to do so. The cost of it is $54. The materials in it is all included. It's all downloadable and it's free online. We do have an electronic copy of our statutes and rules book as well that you are able to use throughout the course. But the course itself does go through all the material for the testing at the end. You must register through our link in order to get the proper test. So just keep that in mind. Go through our website to get that link in order to get into the proper exam. So now the trades exam. So this is where knowing your license classification comes into play on this portion. It is very specific to the license classification that you are applying to. You have 2 options on this one. You can do it online or in person. Just know it is a proctored exam, especially for those that want to do it at home online. You will need a camera set up. They do monitor you throughout the exam. The cost of this exam is $66. The trades and for the solar study material, it is all also available for purchase through our PSI vendor. Again, that link is also found on our website, so you can always contact them for any specific study material, scheduling your exam, knowing what is needed if you do it online and regarding for it being proctored, and those type of rules and regulations that they have. All right. So to kind of help you prepare for the trades exam, on our website, we do have what's called a PSI Candidate Information Bulletin. So this kind of gives you outlines of each classification and what is to kind of prepare you for the exam, really. So it explains the scope of work. It explains the number of questions, minimum passing score, and time allowed. It also gives you a little breakdown of specific areas in what questions are being asked. So you kind of have an idea of what to study for. There also is a reference list for material that they use to create the exam and what is also allowed during the exam. It'll also give you what is not allowed for that exam. It does give you the links on where you can get these books. You can purchase them. You can find a downloadable copy. But this tool here helps you prepare for that exam. So you know what to study. You know how much time you have. and those type of items. So we do recommend you going to this PSI candidate bulletin to kind of get yourself prepared before you start taking that exam. All right, so here's one of our other common errors when it comes to this application process. So who will need to be included in that application? So for LLCs, owners of 25% or more, members, managers, people who are listed in Arizona Corporation Commission. Now, a corporation, same thing, owners of 25% or more. Now you're looking at officers and directors. Anyone who is listed on Arizona Corporation Commission must be listed on our end. When you go through the online portal and you start your application process, when you're filling out this section, it does tell you who is listed in Arizona Corporation Commission. So you kind of have an idea of who you need to add throughout that application process. So keep that in mind. When you're using the portal, a lot of this information is kind of already being provided. You just kind of got to fill in the blanks from there. So you'll see that list of names that is already attached from Corporation Commission. So you know those people need to be added. And all those individuals who do get added, they of course will need to provide their full name, date of birth, an ID, contact information like an email, address, phone number, social security number, their title. So whether they're an officer, director, member, manager, owner, whatever their title is within that corporation or LLC, and also how much ownership they maintain from that company, whether it's 1%, 0%, that is needing to be added when you are filling out that information for each individual. Also, a big one is completed background checks. So everyone who is listed on that application, from QP to owners, officers, members, they all need a background check. So keep that in mind. All right. So going back to background checks, they must be completed again for each person that is listed on there. We do have a vendor, AccuSource HR, who you will run your background check with. It is linked to our website, and we do have their information listed below if you need to contact them for anything. That is the only site we use for background checks. So keep that in mind. If it's not done through AccuSource, we will advise you that it needs to be done through that. The background check does have an expiration date. So it is valid for 90 days of when we receive that license application. So keep that in mind. You have 90 days to have a valid background check. If we see it past that 90 days, you will have to redo it. Just so you know. When you are doing your application process, especially through the online portal, you will not be able to continue if these background checks are not done. So when you were filling out your individuals on that portion of the application, it will ask you for that receipt number of your background check. And it is only going to be available once that background check is completed. If you do not have that receipt number, it will do a hard stop on you. It will not let you move forward. There's no way around it. You need that completed background check in order to continue. So keep that in mind. You will not get that information until it's completed. So if you start that application process, you will get stopped because that is not done. So just keep that in mind when going through that application process. That needs to be done for all individuals. All right, workers' compensation. So per statute, if you have employees, you need workers' compensation. There's only 2 exemptions to this. If it is a single member owning 100% of the company or entity, and they are also listed as the qualifying party. So it's just one individual, they own 100%, they are also that qualified individual who took the exams. Or if it's 2 people owning 50-50, and one of those 2 is that qualifying party. It cannot be a 90-10, 49-51 percentage. It needs to be 50-50 in order to be exempt from workers' comp. If you have that 50-50 and you have a different individual who is that qualifying party, that individual is your employee, you will need workers' compensation insurance. Workers' compensation and the statutes regarding it are all done through the Industrial Commission of Arizona. If you have any specific questions to workers' compensation regarding policy or anything like that, you can contact them and they should be able to answer those questions for you, or they may have that available on their website. All right. Tiered entity charts. So this is only needed when your company, the applicant company, is owned by anything other than an individual. So if your LLC is owned by another LLC, or if it's owned by a trust, owned by a corporation, those type of items is what we look at to know if you need a tier chart or not. So any person owning 25% or more beneficial interest of the applicant will be who is included in this form. There is no template. There is no specific tool to use to create your tiered entity chart, because everyone's ownership flow is a little bit different. So in this case, we have two companies who own the applicant, and this is what their flow is. It ends in individuals who have the beneficial interest in that applicant. So those individuals will also be included in that application because the two own 25% or more. They will need background checks. They will submit IDs and provide their information as stated previously. If your chart does not end in people, so if it is more of a employee stock owned situation, you would just provide us a statement stating that it is employee stock owned, so there's not an individual who owns 25% or more, with the required attestation printed and signed by any individual listed on the application who is not the qualifying party. All right. Bonds. So this is another common error that we do get. So types of bonds. We have three types of bonds that are allowed to be used for a license. Surety, which is the most common, cash, or certificate of deposit. Surety, think of it as car insurance. You'll go through insurance companies, get quoted on a premium. It goes off of your coverage, and then you get it set up with them from there. You're able to shop around with any bond company that you'd wish. There isn't any specific one that you have to get, as long as they can issue you that surety bond. Then feel free to use them. Or a cash bond. A cash bond would be the full coverage in cash. So you can either mail us the check or come in person to pay it. But it would be just the full amount as a payment that is held for your license. And then a certificate of deposit that is done through your bank. We have the documentation that is used that gets filled out by your bank. You will get that signed and notarized with your bank, letting them know it is for your contractor's license and the coverage that is needed for it. And then that information is sent to us once completed by your bank. There are minimum coverage based on your estimated volume of work and license classification. So again, that's going back to knowing what classification you are applying for. It goes along with, all these items in order to complete your application process. So if you are going through our bond portal, our online portal, we do have specific bond companies who do also have access to our online system where they can input that bond for you. So keep that in mind. So that little snippet at the bottom there's very few companies that are able to do that. So just keep that in mind. If you choose any of these companies, they will input that bond for you. So you won't have to submit any extra paperwork. They will do that on your behalf. So when you're filling that online application out, you would choose your bond company and enter their information from there, and they will add that bond to your application. All right. So what should your bond look like? So we have these examples listed on our website. We do have different examples on it. Highly recommend either taking a screenshot, printing a copy, anything like that, to show your bond company as reference of this is exactly what your bond should look like. Your entity name should match what is listed on your application, especially including that DBA. That DBA is part of your application and part of your company. We need that listed on there. The classification should be listed out. So this is again going back to knowing what you're applying for. It is needed when you are getting your bond. It needs to be listed on that bond so we know what license it's for. Another big one is going to be penal sums for dual licenses. They should be separated and itemized, just like this example here. The total may meet minimum requirements. However, we need to know what amount specifically goes to residential and what amount specifically goes to commercial. That is how it's added to your license. So that's how it needs to be listed on that bond. The effective date needs to be within 6 months. It cannot be a future date. It can't be a year old. If it happens to be older than 6 months, you will need to go to your bond company, letting them know that we need something more current or a letter advising that it is still what's called full force and effect. But to not cause any delays to your license application, it's always best to have that effective date within the last 6 months. The form itself will be notarized, and the bond company will add their official seal on that bond form as well. It can be digital or it can be an raised seal. Every bond company does it a little bit different, but as long as it looks like this example here, then you know that you have a completed bond. Again, highly recommend saving a picture of this so you can take it to your bond company, letting them know my bond needs to look like this to not cause any delays on your application. This is going to be one of our most deficient items. So please make sure you have that copy with you. All right. So getting towards the end of the application, there's going to be some disclosures, so some questions that are going to be answered regarding the individuals on the application. So prior license disclosure, if you were listed on a revoked or suspended license, it will give you an opportunity to disclose that information and anything pertaining to that. So if it was resolved or anything like that, we need all that information. Any unlicensed activity. If you were cited or convicted of any unlicensed contracting, we do require that being disclosed. It is statute. So all that information, you will be given the opportunity to add that to your application so it can be reviewed. Felony disclosure. Do you have any felony convictions or pending charges? So if anything in regards to felonies, if you have a felony, keep in mind, we do ask for the documents regarding your felony. So basically the series of events that happen, the charges, any fees related to it showing that they've been paid, anything regarding any classes you must take in order to resolve this. All these items go to our legal department for review. So just keep that in mind, have all those documents ready if that pertains to you for our legal department to do a review of any felonies. So material misrepresentation of fact is a violation of statute and it can lead to denial of the application. So we do ask that you be truthful to these questions when answering them and when we review your application. So additional documentation would be if you are doing any solar work. So if you have an electrical license and you plan on doing anything solar, you do require a solar warranty. There is an example of that on our website that you can use, just a kind of a tool to know what is needed in your solar warranty. You do have options of, if this is more for those who are already licensed here, if you have a license that you no longer need because you are getting a bigger license or a license that covers that scope of work and more, you have the ability to either cancel a current license that you hold or inactivate it. Inactivate it is putting it on hold. With the cancellation, just know that there's no fee. It is canceling the license. Once we cancel a license, that cannot be undone. So just keep that in mind. Inactivating it is more of putting it on hold for a 5-year period. Just know that there is a $50 fee for inactivations only. Notice of disassociation, that is more for the qualifying party. If they are listed on another license and they want to remove themselves while being added to a new one, they have the opportunity to fill out this disassociation form. So once we complete that other application that was submitted, we remove them from the prior license they are listed on. All right, fees. So fees, it goes based off your classification type. So you have an application fee, a license fee. If you are doing any residential work, you do require the recovery fund assessment. That is again only for any residential licenses. That is paid every time you either renew your license or when you first apply for it. It is basically financial protection for their customers. So anyone that you do any work on their home, if anything were to happen, if there's any issues with their work, they have the opportunity to take money from that recovery fund for any issues that happen if that were the case. Just know the application fee is only paid one time, so you will not see that when you renew your license. You renew the license every 2 years. All right. So following the checklist. So again, how we mentioned previously, this checklist is going to be your best friend in this process. In case you ever get stuck, or if you're not sure, where to go to next, or you have some items done, but you're not sure what else you need, this is the best tool to help you get the application completed in its entirety. So you'll have these items, and also it's linked to the specific areas. So like corporation commission, classifications, all those items do have links to our site or the third-party sites that are used to guide you through those next steps. Also on the bottom, you'll see any additional documentation you may need. It's a really good reminder just to know that you have all those items ready, so it doesn't cause any delays in your application. It's up to you in what order you would like that to do it. However, we do recommend following in this step order just so you don't get any stops through your application process. All right. Submitting your license application. So we will always recommend doing it on our online portal. It is quick, it's convenient, it's easy. You will just be entering the information, just kind of filling in the blanks. Again, it does a lot of the background checks for you, like checking if you've been licensed or anything like that. It links you with corporation commission, so you make sure that you have your the correct personnel listed. You can pay your fees online when you go through the online portal. Majority of the work regarding filling out the application will be done online. Again, if you use any of our bond companies that are linked through our online portal, they will do all that paperwork for you. So that's less for you to submit to us. You can you'll have the opportunity to upload like your IDs just as like a picture on there. So that's less things for you to get together to send to us. You can still come in person to our Phoenix office, or you can mail in your items. Just know that depending on how quick you would like your license, just considering mail or in person, we do recommend going through the online portal if you're looking to get your license done a little bit quicker. All right. If you haven't done so already, here are the steps to creating your online portal. When you go to our website, you'll see that little My Account login section. If you do not have an account, it gives you that option to register there. If you have if you need kind of guidance on the steps to creating that account, there will be a video right next to that little login section that guides you step by step on what information is needed to create that online portal and what you can do once you're inside it. So definitely please look at that video just to kind of help you get navigated through the online portal. All right, so once you fill in your information and you get logged in, you're gonna see this screen, the ROC Online Customer Portal. First thing you want to do is add that entity to your account. So once you click that button, you're gonna have a few questions. It's gonna ask you what type of entity you are adding to that account, whether it's LLC, corporation, sole proprietorship. And then from there, if you are an LLC or corporation, you must have already registered with the Arizona Corporation Commission, and you will enter that file number on that indicated field. It will do its checks in the back end to make sure that your filing is okay. And once it links with Arizona Corporation Commission, you will get that little green symbol there that says active in good standing, and it will link your company to that portal account. So you can start your application process. Even for those who are already licensed, you can maintain your license from there, whether it's updating your address, if you need to change your qualifying party, if you need to update your business name, you were able to do all those items on there. Also, once it's time to renew, you will see when it's renewed. You'll be able to do it from there, make your payment, and then you'll be set from there for the next 2 years. All right. So kind of going back to our common errors in the application, don't forget checking Arizona Corporation Commission that all people listed with them must be listed with us, making sure those background checks are completed within 90 days. Valid legible IDs for all parties that are listed, making sure that that testing is done for the qualifying party, and that you have a completed bond, and making sure that again that bond has all those specific items filled out correctly.
All right. Thank you, Erica. As promised, a great deal of good information as you get ready or currently in the process of submitting your new application. So before we open it up for some additional Q&A, just go over some quick reminders here to please complete our survey. We'll be sending that out in our follow-up email that will include a link to our YouTube channel that will contain a recorded presentation from today. So again, if you missed something, that's okay. We will send you a link so you can go and revisit any section of today's presentation. We'll also share links to those applying for a license checklists. We cannot stress that enough. Please use those checklists. They are a great tool and they keep you on track. Follow the steps in order, and it is a pretty seamless process. And then we ask, as you get ready and you submit and complete your application, please mark that you attended today's seminar. We continue to improve and tailor these to our applicants. So you notice that Erica has spent, quite a bit of time on that bond section. That's one of our top errors that our applicants get stuck on. So we really want to make sure that you find these seminars useful and that they are truly a tool for you to get through that new application process without any errors. And then finally, be sure to DocuSign your application. All persons named on the application will need to sign. DocuSign makes that very easy in that you can route it to all of your folks electronically via email. So don't forget to do that as well. The chat has been very robust with questions, so that is awesome. We have a little more time allocated, so we're going to go ahead and open it up for some additional Q&A. You can continue to use the chat feature, or if you prefer to take yourself off of mute and ask a follow-up question for Erica and Maggie, now is the time. And of course, I always say this, but don't be shy. More than likely, somebody else on today's seminar has a similar question.